welcome back. My name is Tita, and if you're new here, I'm a knitter and knitwear designer and the owner of the Yarn Trap Yarn for All LLC on Etsy. And this is the space where I like to share my thoughts on a lot of different things. I talk a lot about how to make your knitwear a little bit more modern and interesting. So I talk a lot about textures, colors, and shapes. I also like to share my pattern releases, test knit calls, obviously works in progresses, finished objects, and acquisitions. And I normally start by having a topic of the week, and then I move on to the regular podcast format, which is works in progresses or finished objects, acquisitions, and so on. And last week I shared some of my thoughts about struggling with one of my designs. And this week I chose to share a little bit about a different kind of struggle with a different pattern. And then we move on to my works in progress. I do not have a finished object just yet. Hopefully next week I may actually have two. And I will show some of the acquisitions that arrived last week. So what I'm wearing today is my Lia Hooding, and about 2 videos ago I had a test knit call for this pattern. If you want to see how the pattern, how the sweater looks like or the hoodigan looks like, you can just go and see my videos 2 podcasts ago, and then you can hear all about this Lia Hooding and its specifications. But today I would like to share something different about it. So I put out a test knit call 2 or 3 weeks ago, and at that time I was still finalizing some little questions I had about my pattern as I was grading it. So what I normally do, I obviously make one size, which is my size, and I figure out how I like the fit. Excuse me, how I like the fit. And obviously my goal is to have the same fit for all the sizes below or above me, which is very idealistic. So basically the real goal is to have as similar fit to mine as possible. And for certain sizes it's relatively easy, and there are multiple ways to actually grade your patterns. When you grade your pattern, you obviously, if the sizes are smaller, you want to make this smaller basically everywhere. If the sizes are bigger, you want to make it bigger everywhere. Which would be very easy if making it smaller and bigger only involves you to increase everything by the same rate. Let's just say you really want to focus on the certain bust circumferences. So if the bust circumference increases by this much, then everything else in the pattern increases by this much, and that would be really nice if that's how it worked, but it does not work that way. So you really have to take into account that certain body parts do not increase by the same rate, particularly the point from shoulder to shoulder. So you really want to make sure, you see, this is my Lia Hooding, and it goes, here's my end of my shoulder, and this goes just a tiny bit below my shoulder. I think it's about an inch or so goes off of my shoulder. So I really want to achieve the same look here for all the sizes that I have. And it's very difficult to determine what is the shoulder to shoulder point for certain sizes, or for actually each and every size, yet get the bust circumference right, which is probably the biggest struggle of all for me in terms of the front and the back. So I finally have a good grasp on exactly how far the shoulder to shoulder should be for each bust circumference, and I'm really hoping that I can hit the right balance and have all my test knitters have roughly the same, about an inch below their shoulder, 0 to 1 inch below their shoulder. I think I can live with like a 1 inch difference, because nothing is really perfect And depending on your knitting style, how loosely you knit and so on, I think this margin of error is still fine, like an inch here. In this, in the case of this sweater, I think some pieces may allow more margin of error and others actually less than this, but I think a 1 inch, if it falls 1 inch below your shoulder or it hits right around your shoulder, I think it still gives you the same, very similar look. So I finally figured those measurements out. There's a lot of information about averages, and obviously these are just averages, but then again, when I went and looked up all the averages, it actually did not came out as the same. So I went to a lot of different websites where they list the final measurements of the garment, like bigger brands, not handmade items, just so I have a good idea about how they are sizing their items. So I did that, and I really searched for hours and hours online on different days to see if I can find some, measurements about hand-knitted items and, different measurements and proportions on sweaters, particularly for a satin sleeve, because this is basically not really a drop shoulder. It's meant to sit right around your shoulder. A drop shoulder would sit somewhere here for me, and it would be a lot more fabric in here, and that's I didn't want. I wanted a tiny bit here. It's right off my shoulder. I'm sorry, here it's actually right off my shoulder, which is what I wanted. So I went online and searched for every publicly available information on how these sizes should be worked out, and there is really no consensus, simply because I guess these are just average measurements. But if you think about it, 1 or 2 inch difference would make a huge difference in my case. If I'm aiming to have it at your shoulder, there's like a 2 to 3 or even more inches of difference in terms of how far my shoulders on average would sit for my size, which is my bust, based on my bust circumference. That could be really, throwing off my measurements and my stitch counts. So I actually reached out to my test knitters who helped me out a little bit. So now I have a much better idea about, sort of how should I size the front and the back. And then after that, I still had to put a lot of thought into designing the sleeve and the sleeve cap. I designed this to be actually knitted from bottom up, and in the case of this particular piece, I knitted the front, the back, and then the sleeves, and then seamed my garment together. For my test knitters, I'm making a version where you can knit as much in a round, or you can't really knit too much in a round because I have a zipper in the middle, but you can knit up until here in actually one piece, not in a round, but just with the cut in the middle. You don't have to knit the front and then the back. You can kind of work it at the same time for a good while. So I'm making it possible to work it in a round. However, I didn't want to make the sleeve in a way that you can pick it up, because if you work this from bottom up, then your stitches go this way, and if you pick up for your sleeves and work it down, your stitches will be facing the other way, and it might not bother some, but it actually does bother me when that happens. I can actually see the difference, and it does bother me. So I am making my sleeve be worked, if you want it, in a round, but from the bottom up. And that is actually a little bit harder than making your sleeve from top down, because then you can just pick up for your as many stitches as you need, and if the pattern calls for the wrong amount of stitches, or you don't feel it's the right amount of stitches, then you just pick up a couple of extra, or you pick up less, and then you work your short rows in this case, I guess, and you work the piece. But when you work something from the bottom up, you can't pick up more stitches or increase more in my case. So what you really need to do is, if you knit this in a complete circle, then the circumference and circumference of your sleeve have to perfectly match this armhole opening And you can make a little bit of adjustments by binding off your final stitches a little bit looser or a little bit tighter, pulling the fabric, or giving you a little bit more room. So if you're just a tiny bit off, then making your bind off a little bit looser or tighter will not be really visible, but give you the exact space you may need, but you can't be off by a lot. So you really have to think, if your armhole increased, the armhole circumference, basically like right here on the body, increases by this much for each size, then how much should you increase your sleeve counts, and then your sleeve decreases, basically, or how you should shape your sleeve cap so the sleeve actually fits perfectly into the armhole opening. And again, it works, sometimes you just increase a little bit for the sleeve for larger sizes, but at one point you have to think about that you have to decrease a lot more in here than in certain cases. So then you will have sort of a larger opening, therefore a larger circumference on your armhole. So then your sleeves kind of have to follow suit. But how you do that? By not having too much positive ease on your sleeve. So I am finalizing the sleeve and how do I perfectly fit my sleeve cap into the armhole opening, so you don't have to wiggle too much with your bind off, or actually you don't have to do more than binding off looser or tighter to make your sleeve perfectly fit, which in my case was easy because this is my size. So everyone can do their sizes really well because they know their body. But even if you know the final measurements in centimeters or whatnot, I use centimeters because they are shorter than inches, so it kind of gives me an easier final measurements than saying an inch and 5/8. It's much easier to say that in centimeters. It's a little bit less complicated for me. So anyways, I am still finalizing the perfect fit of the sleeve, so I am hoping that I finish that today, finish writing the pattern, that part of the pattern, tomorrow or the day after, so I can send them to my test knitters. And by that time, the yarn should arrive to me as well. As if you look back my Lia Hooding test knit call video, I say in there that I am giving out in collaboration with the company Creme Castle Wool that creates this beautiful baby silk lace solid yarn. I'm giving away the yarn for my test knitters for free, so in every size. So I can have a perfect measurement for each of my sizes for this yarn, so the pattern can be as good as it can get with the help of my test knitters. So the way we work this out with the company Creme Castle Wool is that they shipped out the yarn to my European test knitters directly from Germany, which was incredibly nice, made my life a lot easier, as opposed to having all the yarn shipped to the US, and from the US I'm shipping it back to Europe, which would have made no sense. So they took on the responsibility to ship it to my test knitters in Europe, and they've already done that. So my European test knitters should have the yarn this week, which I'm very excited about. And what we did for my US test knitters was that the German company shipped the yarn to me, and I will ship it out for my US test knitters, which makes their shipping cost obviously a lot less. So that is a really good thing. So the test knitters only had to pay for shipping, which is really nice to get this beautiful yarn. So I'm very excited about that. I may film when the box arrives from my test knitters, so you get to see, my US test knitters, so I can show you the colors that they picked for themselves, and everyone was able to get their first choice of color, which I'm really excited about as well. Although this comes in many beautiful colors, I actually had a hard time choosing this pink one for myself, but it's really nice to get your first choice of color. So I will film a short video when the box arrives, and I will show you the colors that were picked and the potential zippers that could go with it. I will email my test knitters if I have a good zipper for them. I had a hard time picking this zipper in a soft enough version, so it's kind of goes with the flow of this very drapey fabric. And I have a couple of colors actually now, and I will see if I can match them up with the yarn that they chose, so they can get a zipper from me as well, so they don't have to search for it, as long as they like the one that came to me. So I'm really excited about that. So mainly my week went with really trying to do a lot more research on the sizing and you know, all of that, which is, as I said, really difficult, especially when you knit your when you knit your top in panels like this one, or when you knit everything bottom up, so the fit has to be perfect. As I said, when you knit top down, it's a very easy adjustment to pick up less or more stitches, then go on with your sleeve. And if you don't like the width of the sleeve, you just, you know, decrease. Here you can actually increase if you don't like my increases, but then again, if you increase by too much, then you run the risk of not having to be able to fit your sleeve into the armhole opening, which can cause a lot of frustration, which I don't want. So I'm trying to make as good fit as possible. I hope I've done that, but I'm really relying on my test knitters to let me know if I didn't, so I can adjust before the pattern gets to actually everyone else. So that was my main focus for this week. Therefore, I didn't make too much progress. I mean, I don't know what counts as too much progress for me on my other items, but I will show you where I am with as much as possible. And I have basically 3 WIPs or like 2 works in progresses that I had last week. I do not have a new cast on this week, at least. Maybe next week I will, or maybe that's ambitious, and maybe next week I will have 2 finished objects and no cast-ons. I don't know just yet, but I'm always ambitious about how much I can knit, and then you know, I don't know, things need to be adjusted and so on, so I don't know. This week I thought I will have more knitting time, but it was extreme amount of time to find out the perfect fit, so that took longer than I thought. However, I feel I'm in a good place with that now, so I'm really working just on the final numbers. So maybe next week I will have a new cast on, I don't know. But let's see what I had from last week. And here is one of my summer tops that I'm designing using BC Garn Summer Rain Cashmere. I will pop up the colorway in here. It's a really cool green colorway, and I'm knitting this item in a round just because I'm also gonna knit it in panels, my second sample, but I decided to knit this in a round. Some people prefer knitting in a round, and in certain cases it doesn't really matter. I'm knitting it bottom up, as you see, for multiple reasons. I think I talked about that before, that I like to knit from the bottom up because I like the way it allows me to shape things and the techniques it allows me to use. And I don't know, I kind of like to see the bottom first. And sometimes I visualize the ending the latest. Knitting it from the bottom up, I can see a lot more of the top, and then I can decide how I want the neckline to be or the openings a bit later. If you knit obviously from top down, you have to decide that first, which I really don't like. I like to see more of it, and then I kind of have a feeling about, okay, now this top needs this kind of a neckline, or this kind of an opening, or this kind of a finish. So that's why I'm knitting them from the bottom up, and also the ways it allows me to shape things. I like that better. So I am knitting this on a 2.75 millimeter knitting needle, including the hem. And last week I struggled a lot with finding the right amount of stitches I need and the right amount of sort of a pattern in what I want. And I think I knitted it from like somewhere right here, and I liked it, but I wasn't sure if I really like it. But yes, I do like it, and soon I am going to do my armhole opening. As you see, this will be somewhat more fitted, but not too fitted. I'm about to put this on now a sort of cord that allows me to try it on, and I actually want to block this to make sure that I got the final measurements the way I want it, because this will stretch out a lot more than you think. So this is actually the intended final look and final ending, but it's gonna be a bit more fitted on the top than this one. But I am a really happy place with this. I am also thinking about the shaping of the sleeve and the shoulders. As of now, I have two different ideas, and I don't know necessarily which one I will go with. I might just do one type of sleeve on one side and the other type of sleeve on the other side, and I will decide which one I like better. Or I make one and I see if I really love it, I'm not gonna go with the other one. Maybe I will save that idea for a different design. But it's really knitted just with knits and pearls, as you can see, so it's relatively easy, but I like the way I kind of shape the middle of it and all. And I really like the way my stitches are turning out. It's really neat. Using 2.75 millimeter knitting needle and a little bit more open here, so I really like that, just that side by side. And I'm still thinking about the neck line. I have two ideas, again, like two ideas for the sleeves, and I don't exactly know yet. I think I have to knit this a little bit more and try it on actually to see what do I really want here to be. This meant to be obviously a summer top with short sleeves, so I don't want it to be too warm. So, but this is a yarn that is 10% cashmere and 90% organic cotton, so it isn't, you know, considered a very warm yarn. This is considered a summer yarn, I guess. But sometimes you need some opening, especially if your garment is a little bit too fitted, or if the garment has a lot of fabric, then it's too heavy and, you know, a bit stuffy. So I will see how much opening I want in the front and what type of opening, because I'm kind of trying to design this in a way that it is work appropriate. You know, I want my garment to be worn. So I wanted to make sure that you can wear them in a lot of different places, depending on the accessories or the other pieces that you pair them up with. I'm keeping that in mind, that some people some people would like to wear this at work as well. So how to make this to be work appropriate as well, so you can have as much wear as out of your garment as possible, since you invest so much time to knit this, especially on a 2.75. I mean, I knit fast, so for me, I mean, I don't mind 2.75 or even much lower numbers, but you know, you may need to invest more time in knitting this than I did, and I want to make sure that you can actually wear it to work, when you go out, so in a lot of different places. And you know, as I said, depending on what you match it up with, depending on your shoes, your purse, I want my pieces to be able to take you to a lot of different places and occasions. So that's the goal with this. So yes, I'm still working on this, and I like the progress that I made, so I'm really happy with where we are with this one right now. My next work in progress is my boucle sweater that I am not revealing. I'm revealing it in this bunch. I think I'm knitting this on a 2.75, but I have to confirm that. I realized that I'm knitting it on a knitting needle that does not have a number on it, so I have to check actually out if it's a 2.75 or a 3 millimeter, because now I am not sure. I don't really like the knitting needles that do not have the numbers on it. And I don't know why I grabbed that. I think my other ones were taken with the numbers, both the 2.75 and the 3. So I just grabbed this, and I thought it's a 2.75, but now I'm not sure. But by the time I'm writing up the pattern, I will finalize the knitting needle size that I had. And this is the design that kind of flies off of my knitting needles. This looks really bunchy and bulky, but it is because I finished the front, and finally the extra yarn arrived, so I finished the back, and I finished completely one sleeve this morning, almost completely. And I sort of use these bobby pin, safety pins to pin the back and the front together and pin the sleeve on. And I'm really happy with what I saw. The only thing is that I maybe made the sleeve a bit too long for my size. The sleeve was a little bit heavier than I thought, so it pulled my shoulder a little bit. So now I have to complete the neckline to see with that neck that I created how much the shoulder gonna come back up and how much the sleeve really actually gonna fall down. Because as you know, no matter how you knit your garment, top down or bottom up, as soon as you add the neck, that kind of pulls your shoulder. And then you have to add the sleeve, and the weight of the sleeve may or may not pull the fabric a bit more. So I have to actually finish the neckline first for this before I make an adjustment on the second sleeve. And if I still don't like the first sleeve perfectly, I am knitting the second sleeve with some modifications. As of now, the sleeves hit somewhere here. I may make it a little bit shorter, and then see how I like it, and then modify it maybe one more time before the final version. But as I said, this one was the one that was flying off my needles so far, and I'm happy with the results thus far. And I decided to keep the design a bit more secret because this is kind of fun. But I'm knitting this with the I think this is the Creme Castle wool boucle yarn, but I'm gonna pop this up here. Actually, I have it right here in a different color. Yes, it's a Creme Castle wool alpaca boucle yarn. And I think it's 89% alpaca and 11% polyamide. And what happened was that I got a sample package for sort of spring summer knits from the company Creme Castle wool, and they sent me one skein, actually sorry, one hank like this of this beautiful alpaca boucle. And immediately when I saw the yarn, I had the design in mind and I really had to make it, but I only had one hank of the yarn, so I quickly made the front one panel, and I almost ran out of yarn by finishing the front. And then I emailed the company asking for a couple more hanks, so I ordered 2 more hanks to finish my version of that. And I'm designing this with 2 different sleeves anyways, one exaggerated and one sort of regular sleeve. So the company sent me a package, and I was smart enough to actually put a couple more yarns in that package, just to be on the safe side that I have everything that I want for my spring knits. So I will show you what else came with it. But as I mentioned, I'm making this with 2 different sleeve versions. So this is the exaggerated sleeve version, and I'm making my sister's one in this colorway. I'm gonna pop up the exact name because here I only see a number. She wanted this beautiful pinkish purple. As you can see, these are both pinkish purple, but this has a bit more gray in it. Color, so hers gonna be the regular sleeve version, and I already got the 3 hanks to do my second sample of that, and the second sample gonna be knit in around just so I can write up the pattern both ways for whoever wanna make it whichever way it will be possible. So I've been working on this, and again, this top gonna be a top that can take you to different places. So I'm hoping to make it work appropriate. And as you can see, I mean, this is a bit warmer and obviously a bit more bulkier than when I hold. I mean, it has the sleeve inside, but when I hold this one together, you know, there is a huge difference in terms of amount of fabric and, you know, warmth. So this is going to be obviously a tiny bit warmer, but I'm holding this lace boucle single. So am I holding this cotton cashmere blend single? But obviously the alpaca are gonna be warmer than the cotton. But again, I want to make sure that you can wear both of them when you go to work, or when you're just hanging out at home, or when you go to your date nights or go out, have a drink or whatnot. I want to make sure that you can modify these. I will show you how once I, you know, have the pieces finalized. Modify them in a way that you change your accessories or change up the garment a little bit, because that will be possibility to do it with this one, and it can be looking a little bit different, and you know, you can go from work to have some fun, and your clothes still gonna be appropriate, so you don't have to go home and change, because this can take you, both spaces gonna be able to take you to a lot of different places. That will allow you to wear your knits a lot more, so have a lot more wear out of things that you spend so much time making, and you know, you don't have to rush home and change and have multiple outfits. One piece can give you a lot of different things. So that is my goal with my pieces, which is functionality basically. So yes, I'm hoping that both of these pieces gonna be appropriate to do so. And as I said, this is a little bit warmer, but if you think about it, in the summer when it's really warm, we work in air-conditioned spaces, or we spend our life, a portion of it at least, in air conditioning, which can be really, really cold in the US at least. The movies, you basically are freezing in the summer. So this will be really helpful for that. And while it's really warm outside, in most indoor places, the AC is blasting, which is for me too cold. So having a warmer garment, a tiny bit warmer garment, will be just perfectly fine, especially if you're like me and you're, you know, really cold in very heavily air-conditioned spaces. So again, I don't know how far I will get with this and how satisfied I will be with the sleeves, sleeve version after I add the neckline. So depending on that, you may or may not see the full version of this next week. And depending on that, I may or may not start on this one, the second version knitted in a round, but you know, I never know really how much time I will have, and also I don't know how much time it would take to really make the modification, write up everything, read my pattern multiple times before I'm sending it to my test knitters, which is what I'm gonna do after I'm done recording. I'm gonna finish finalizing my pattern. I want to do that by Wednesday, so I don't know how much time it will really give me for knitting at all, but I will see. So next week you should see definitely progress on this and definitely progress on this. How much progress that I don't know. And last week I had one more whip, which was the coverlet top from the latest edition of the Pompon magazine, and I have this purple marker to show you. Where is it? I actually have to pop up a picture of, like last week I couldn't really show it without giving the pattern away. There's no like main page with a good photo, so I'm gonna pop up a picture, but it is from the latest physical issue of the Pompon magazine that I purchased, and she picked this beautiful coverlet top that is knitted in, I think, Jamisons of Shetland yarn, but I'm gonna confirm that. I always forget the full name. I don't have that yarn in my shop. Jamisons of Shetland Springdrift fingering grade 4 ply yarn, which is 100% wool yarn that gives you 105 meters for a 25-gram ball. Hank or ball, I actually don't know. I think it comes in hanks. So I looked up the yarn as I said it last week, and I found it that I could get it for double the price basically for 50 gram, which I would have to buy 2 hanks of this to buy 1 hank of a yarn that I have in my shop, so the price would have come out to be doubled. So I decided to obviously substitute this yarn with something that I had in my shop, and I sent photos of my cousin. She picked 2 colors. Here are the 2 colors that she picked, and I substituted the gemstones of Shetland Spindrift with BC Garn Bio Shetland, which is a 100% organic wool yarn, which I really like. And this yarn gives you 280 meters for 50 gram, and the other one would have given me 210 meters for 50 grams, which means that this is a bit thinner yarn. And I mentioned in my, most likely, thinner yarn. So I mentioned in my other video that when I knitted this with 2.25 millimeter knitting needle, I'm at gauge. So that's how I am going to knit this, which was strange because you would have to go up to a 2.75 millimeter knitting needle to meet gauge. So my yarn might be thinner, and I'm using a smaller knitting needle. That I have to think about this when I'm editing this. How is that even possible? So my yarn might not be actually thinner, but sort of weights less, I guess. In any case, I am using a smaller knitting needle size on a yarn that gives me more meter per 50 grams. And you figure out why that is, or how is that possible. Maybe the other yarn is heavier. Yeah, no, I don't exactly know. But that's what I'm doing. I'm at gauge at 2.25 millimeter knitting needle, and I'm using these 2 beautiful colors. And as I said, the yarn cost me half the money, so that is, yeah, a no-brainer for me for an organic yarn that costs half. I am definitely going to use it. And last week I knitted up, I started knitting it, and this week this is all I have because I actually pulled it off of my knitting needle. And the reason was that I did not read the instructions properly. And I think I mentioned in my last video that I decided to make 2 modifications. The top gonna be cropped, a bit more cropped, actually no, cropped and with no split and the sides. And I just decided, okay, I'm just not gonna do the opening and the side. So I cast it on the same amount of stitches as it called for, the version where you have a split and a side. So that did not work out in the end because I read the pattern of how you actually make the opening. It was suspicious to me that you casting on and around for something that has a split hem type of situation. So, but I wasn't thinking, so I just cast it on. Well, obviously I cast it on way too many stitches for a version that does not have a split hem. So I just pulled it off of my needles and decided to restart. But I had to wait for my cousin because this is her birthday gift, and she wanted to measure her favorite top. So I exactly know how long this top should be. But she didn't have the top on her, so she has to measure it still, hopefully today. I will have the final measurements, because based on that measurement I will decide where do I start the pattern. I have to figure out how many centimeters it takes me to finish a full pattern. And as you can see here in the photos, the pattern begins on the top. Although this is knitted bottom up, you end with the full pattern, full chart finishing on the top. So I kind of have to figure out what she wants and how many centimeters for me will be when I knit the full sort of chart of 30 whatever rows, and then I go from there. So I can't really start too much more. I mean, I could do more, but I did not have time. So I pulled this off of my knitting needles, but I kept it because I wanted to show you the stitch definition, how beautiful that actually really looks. I realized in my last video that did not come out right, so I hope that my camera is focusing, and the stitches look absolutely beautiful. This is on a 2.25, so it will be laborsome to do this, I guess, but I don't mind. I'm a very fast knitter, so I am really happy with the colors and everything, so I'm just gonna restart this. Hopefully, maybe today I unwind the yarn, unravel, and restart this project. So hopefully next week, I don't know actually if she gives me the measurements or not, but hopefully next week you get to see some of the pattern for this. And as I said, I'm using these two colors, but I forgot to say that this is colorway 41 and 46. And this beautiful yarn is still available in my shop in multiple colors. This comes in like 70 colors or something. So if you decide to knit something with it, you can find really cool color combinations for color work. And I have today a couple of acquisitions to show you. And the acquisitions came from the Crème Castle wool company that creates BC Garn yarn, that has BC Garn yarn, and also the brand Crème Castle wool. And the reason I needed a package from them, I ordered a couple of yarns because, as I said, I wanted to finish this beautiful boucle, and I only had one hang. And then I decided, okay, let me just think what else I need. And I needed 3 skeins or hangs of this colorway so I can make my second sample. So I got this beautiful color that I showed you already before for the second version of the very same top. And I got the same Crème Castle wool alpaca boucle yarn, alpaca boucle super fine, now I see, yarn in this beautiful gray colorway for 2 reasons. One, a third sample would probably look really nice for some of my family members. But the real reason was that I really like the boucle for somehow. Right now I'm in my boucle phase, I guess. And I wanted to see how I can use this yarn to make something for sort of the late summer slash early fall winter days. And I ordered a few yarns to pair this up with, just a sample. I could pair this up with the Crème Castle wool baby alpaca lace yarn, which, if you look at this, could give you a beautiful combination and extremely warm garment for the fall. And the alpaca boucle does not come in too many colors, but these baby silk lace, baby alpaca lace comes in multiple colors. This is actually very similar colorway, as you can see, so this would give me a good match. But the alpaca does not have enough colorways to match them up with these. So I was thinking that I could match it up with a different color, like this baby alpaca lace again, but in colorway 12. And this is like this grayish green that could go really well with this gray, but I will have to actually see if I like the final effect or not. This might be too much of a contrast for me even when they blend together. Alternatively, I could have a few versions where you can match up your boucle with this lace, and I think I would get same gauge if you mix up your baby alpaca lace or hold it double. So you could mix these up or hold the alpaca lace double. Super soft yarn, by the way. It is a 100% alpaca yarn. And as I see, comes from Peru, has 22 micron, and it's extremely fine. And it is extremely fine, I can tell you that. And they say that the alpacas are held in open fields and only gathered for shearing, and which is done very carefully without harming the animals. So I think it's very important. If the yarn company can do that, I think all yarn companies should do that, because no animal should be harmed because we are wearing something from them. Anyways, so I'm thinking versions and versions about sort of cold summer days, early fall. And you may say that it's too early to think about fall, but I mentioned in my other video that I'm getting a delivery from the company, a large delivery, and I'm putting it together right now, my order. So I wanted to make sure I have everything that I want to knit for the fall as well, so I don't have to order these smaller packages. So that's why I'm thinking already about the fall, because it will take the company about, I don't know, 5-6 weeks until the yarn reaches me. Then I fill up my shop and start knitting. So I just want to make sure I have everything that I need. And I also ordered this baby alpaca yarn from BC Garn, which is again 100% alpaca, and I love that. This is also responsible animal, I think, standard certified, which is again a standard for animal welfare. And I really like the company's effort of trying to make as many yarn as possible, either organic or certified in other ways, so us, the people who buy the yarn, can make sure that the animals were not harmed during the process of taking their wool for us to have beautiful yarns. And I would say that these yarns are affordable for organic or certified yarns, and I'm gonna make sure that it stays affordable in my shop as well, as affordable as I can make it, after all the fees that I actually have having the yarn delivered here. But I'm trying to make good yarn as affordable as possible, so everyone else other than me can knit with these beautiful yarns. So I really love this colorway, and I think this might be one of the colorways for me for my winter slash fall design. These are similar, but this really spoke to me, this color. I'm thinking it to hold it double for winter and hold it single for the fall. So I am really excited about that. And I have one more yarn. This is BC Garn, 100% linen yarn. I think it's a colorway almond, but I popped it up at 63 almond, which is like this grayish yarn with a hint of purple, but I don't know if you can see that here. It may appear more purple on the photo that I'm gonna pop up, but it's not really purple. It's only purple if you, I don't know if you can see that in my camera. You might be able to see this hue holding it against a true light gray. And this is a 100% linen yarn that is OECO-TEX standard 100 verified, which is again a label that I really appreciate, which tells you that the sort of process while they were making the yarn is more environmentally friendly, and they tested the yarn, and I guess for harmful substances. You can go up and look up what a OECO-TEX standard 100 verification means, or the responsible anywhere standard means, or organic means. But as I said, my BC Garn summer in cashmere is organic. My alpacas are RAMS verified, certified, and this is a OECO-TEX standard 100 verified yarn. And my shop has a lot of these yarns that are verified in multiple ways or have different certificates, because I wanted as many as possible, and I picked the ones that I think are affordable within the organic line, so to speak, because obviously organic lines are more expensive and these verification cost you money. And obviously, I mean, keeping animals properly is more expensive than keeping them not so nice. So obviously the yarn that you will buy will be, I mean, the raw materials that you will buy are more expensive, so obviously it's less affordable than other yarns. But if you care and for organic and all of these certificates, you can find many in my shop, and I think they are most affordable because I did a lot of research before I settled for this brand for a reason. So anyways, this is the BC Garn Lino. that I will have in my shop very soon, 100% linen. I am having a project, actually 2 projects in mind for this yarn. So I ordered 3 skeins of this for now on, and I'm gonna make a little swatch and block it to see how softer the yarn becomes, because it's really you know, I mean, it's a linen yarn, so it's less soft than my alpaca obviously, but I want to see how soft this can become by blocking and washing. So that is the next step, and that will actually determine which of the 2 projects I will settle for this one right now. But yes, I love all my new acquisitions. They are absolutely beautiful. They kind of speak the colorway from now on, but as I said, some are for the fall and some are for the summer. So this is kind of summer, spring. Oh, forgot that. Summer, spring, and as of now, fall, winter for now on. So I guess that is it for today. I will, as I said, film if the yarn for my test knitters arrive. That might be fun for you to see what other colors. You will be able to see the Lia Hooding as soon as my test knitters are done. And my plans are to, as I said, work on my 2 works in progresses, because these are my summer slash spring knits. And I still have to write up the pattern after that, have them test knitted before it can get to everyone else. So I would like to finish those, but sometimes I don't know what kind of roadblocks I will be hitting the week. But I hope that I get at least closer to finish, which is for sure. Thank you, and if you like the content, please consider subscribing, because you will hear from my test knit calls through this channel, and hopefully soon through my Instagram when I have that going slowly. I'm really planning to do that this week or next week to keep up with that as well. So some of you can reach me there or reach me here. But these 2 projects are coming up for test knits, and if you like them or you're interested, then please consider subscribing, because this is where you're gonna hear from me about it first, before I put it on Ravelry and Yarn Pond. If I need to, if I don't get enough sort of test knitters through these calls, then I'm gonna put them up publicly as well. But I think it would be nice for my listeners to actually have priority in test knitting. So please consider subscribing if you're interested or if you like the content. Thank you, and I will see you next week.